How do you balance humor and intensity in a sequel to an action film? That's the question at the heart of Den of Thieves 2 Pantera, as Gerard Butler and O'Shea Jackson Jr. team up for a lighter yet still gripping follow-up. With the release of the new trailer, it's clear that the film is aiming to capture the audience's attention with more jokes and a less heavy tone than its predecessor. But will this shift work in its favor? Or could it risk losing what made the original so compelling? Well, here's everything we know about the movie. Gerard Butler recently teased what fans can expect from the dynamic between his character, Big Nick, and O'Shea Jackson Jr.'s Donnie in Den of Thieves 2 Pantera. Following a successful first outing as the relentless LAPD county sheriff officer in 2018, Butler's unhinged character is set to return in the sequel, directed by Christian Gudegast. As revealed in the trailer, Big Nick will actually be switching sides, teaming up with Donnie to pull off a heist at the world's largest diamond exchange. In a recent interview with Screen Rant, Butler previewed the relationship between Big Nick and Donnie in Den of Thieves 2, hinting at a lot of tension given their very different personalities. While they will definitely clash, Butler also promised there will be moments of humor too. He explained, "I think it leads to a very entertaining, fascinating, and rich dynamic between them. There are so many unanswered questions and a mix of curiosity between us. We're playing this game of cat and mouse, and now suddenly we're partners. I'm saying, Donnie, I want to do this with you. I'm sick of the stuff I do and not getting any recognition. But what does that lead to?" he continued. "Donnie's kind of forced into this situation, and now he's got a bull in a china shop, which isn't exactly his style. It creates a very tense yet funny dynamic. It's like Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid meets the odd couple between Nick and Donnie." So what does the new Big Nick and Donnie dynamic mean for Den of Thieves 2? Well, the first movie was all about the rivalry between Big Nick and Ray Merrimen, with Merrimen being the ruthless bank robber. At the end of the first film, Merrimen was dead and Donnie was living under a new identity in England. The sequel is set to make some big changes to that formula. Where the first movie played like a modern homage to Michael Mann's Heat, with its cat-and-mouse story between a cop and a criminal, the sequel seems to be throwing out that formula. Den of Thieves 2 takes an unexpected twist on the typical cat-and-mouse dynamic, making the sequel potentially more exciting. With Big Nick switching sides and becoming a criminal, it removes a key element from the first Den of Thieves, which could alienate some fans of the original film. However, considering that the response to the 2018 film was mixed, 41% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes and a 63% audience score, leaning into Big Nick's wild side and unpredictability, especially compared to the reserved Donnie, could actually work in the sequel's favor. Furthermore, the second trailer for Den of Thieves 2 has dropped. The sequel picks up right where Den of Thieves left off, with Nick, Big Nick O'Brien, tracking down Donnie Wilson after his escape to Europe. Den of Thieves 2 sees Donnie already working on a massive heist at the world's largest diamond exchange. In addition to Butler and Jackson reprising their roles, Meadow Williams is back as Holly from the first movie. Lionsgate has released the second trailer, showing Nick's pursuit of Donnie taking an unexpected turn as he seemingly joins forces with him. While Nick vows to catch Donnie and claims no one ever escapes him, he pretends not to recognize Donnie when authorities have footage of him. More importantly, Nick joins Donnie's latest heist and starts working with him, with Donnie declaring that the cop goes gangster as Nick creates chaos across Europe. This dynamic shift from the previous movie is a big twist. While Nick's skills make it look like he's thriving as part of Donnie's crew, it's hard to believe he's fully turned into a criminal. The end of Den of Thieves made it clear that Donnie was the mastermind behind the heist. To catch Donnie this time, Nick seems to be going undercover and planning to sabotage the heist from within. Donnie will definitely be suspicious of Nick's sudden criminal turn, and Nick will have to convince everyone why he's willingly joined the heist. This setup could lead to a tense and explosive finale, featuring a violent confrontation between the two characters as the outcome of the heist and their fates hang in the balance. The first Den of Thieves is underrated and stands out as one of Gerard Butler's best action films. Given the unresolved tension between Nick and Donnie at the end of the first movie, a sequel was definitely needed, but the follow-up is proving even more compelling than anticipated based on the story teased in the marketing. Den of Thieves 2 is shaping up to be a rewarding continuation that amplifies all the best elements from its predecessor. One of the big changes this time around is that Den of Thieves 2 is set to have more humor than its predecessor, thanks to some script changes. In an exclusive interview with Screen Rant, Butler, who stars and produces, shared that the sequel will bring a little more lightness compared to the first film, which was quite heavy in places. He mentioned that while the original draft was more serious, the relationship dynamic between Nick and Donnie now incorporates more humor. For sure, it was important to add humor to this movie. The first film, gripping as it was, could feel a bit heavy at times. The idea now is to let these characters, Nick O'Brien and Donnie Wilson, have more fun, perhaps even take a working holiday in Europe. It's a fun ride with these two together. You don't want to get bogged down. The initial draft was quite serious, focusing heavily on the heist itself, which was sophisticated and interesting in its own right. But what makes Den of Thieves 2 special is that it builds on that by adding this great relationship with plenty of humor, especially between Donnie, who's used to being in control, and Nick, who's brilliant but a bit out of control himself. The inclusion of humor in serious stories can add much-needed levity and guide audiences through tough, intense scenes. From the Den of Thieves 2 trailer, it's clear that the tone is lighter this time around. There are more jokes directed at Nick's expense, which contrasts well with his character's more serious nature and ultimately makes the movie more accessible to a broader audience. These well-realized characters now allow Butler to explore his comedic acting a bit more. It's unclear how the movie might perform theatrically, but the hope is that it can reach close to the original success, and the script changes should play a role in that. While the humor makes it a more mainstream movie, which could be beneficial for box office results, it's crucial to maintain the right balance. The film must avoid becoming a mishmash of different genres, achieving none of them successfully. This might mean refining some of the humor in post-production, and gauging audience reception will be key to that. As long as the script changes aren't too drastic and Gudegast's return as writer-director ensures tonal continuity with the first film, there's potential for Den of Thieves 2 to feel familiar with a touch more humor. However, it's important to watch out for pitfalls, like those faced by movies like The Fall Guy, which tried to mix too many genres and didn't quite hit the mark with audiences. If Den of Thieves 2 can steer clear of these issues, it could indeed become one of Butler's best action movies. And that's a wrap for today's video. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next one. And please don't forget, we always welcome your suggestions for future videos, so drop them in the comments below. Thanks very much, and we'll see you next time.